I gotta be honest with y'all about something. I do not care for anime. I'm sorry, but I don't. I never grew up watching anime as a kid. I never watched like any of the big shows. I never watched Dragon Ball or One Piece or anything like that at all. I never cared for anime. It just never was my thing. And to be honest, I am aware that it might not be a good idea to generalize all anime as being like this. But then again, anime fans like to generalize all cartoons as just being unfunny Family Guy clones. So I might as well give them a taste of their own medicine. Certain kinds of anime turn me away from the entire art form. I don't know how much detail I could go into this, but if you know, you know. I'm talking about like the high school crap, the L word stuff. That's like the stuff that I hate and I just cannot stand at all. You guys remember a few years ago there was like that anime girl that had like gray hair or whatever, and she wore like a blue shirt, and like everyone made a big deal about her. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. That's the stuff that I cannot stand. Okay, I'm sorry, bro, but like bad cartoons are better than bad anime. I don't even care what people say. If I ever made a search for the worst anime, some of the stuff that I would look at would put me on a list, seriously. People are gonna ask me, why do I like cartoons more than anime? What do cartoons have that anime doesn't have? Oh, I don't know. Waifus that both look like and actually are fully grown adult women. That's something that we have. We have Dexter's mom. We have Elastigirl. We have Danny Phantom's mom. We have that blonde girl from Billy and Mandy. I'm just saying, man. I'm just saying. That's what we got. I'm sure there's great anime out there. I'm sure like the really famous ones like Dragon Ball and One Piece, I'm sure they're great shows. I'm sure like Spirited Away or whatever deserves its reputation as one of the greatest animated movies ever made. Yeah, I'm sure there's good anime out there. Me personally, I just don't care enough for it for me to watch it. I'm sorry. Probably the only anime that I would say like I ever watched would be like, I don't know, Sonic X, which that was when I was a kid, and like I honestly cringe whenever I think about that because it reminds me of my cringy Sonic phase back in like the mid 2010s. And then there was that show on Nicktoons Network. I'm not sure how many of y'all are gonna remember this. Y'all deserve a veteran's discount if you remember this. Kappa Mikey. And like that's it. You know what? No, you know what? Kappa Mikey is the only good anime ever made. That I'm just gonna say that right there. All anime in existence is trash except for Kappa Mikey. Kappa Mikey is peak anime, the only good anime ever made. But I'm getting sidetracked. I had to decide if this show should be in the search for the worst cartoon or not for numerous reasons. Number one, it is technically not a cartoon, I guess. It's on Crunchyroll, which is like this streaming service for anime, and I don't know if it counts. I feel like it feels like a cartoon heavily inspired by anime rather than like a full-on anime. I'm not sure. If y'all want to count this as an anime, then I mean like sure, consider this the only anime that I will ever review on this series. This is High Guardian Spice. This is a show that came out in 2021, only had 12 episodes made, and that was it. It has been almost 2 years since this show came out, and we have not gotten a season 2, so it's safe to say that, like, this show has been cancelled. I don't know. Apparently, this show went through development hell. I don't know. It started development in 2017, yet it didn't come out until late 2021. I believe it was going to be set for like a 2019 release date, but it got delayed and postponed and whatnot, and I don't know what happened with this thing. All I know is that this has a very low score on IMDb, a 1.5 out of 10. Out of all the cartoons that I've looked at on this series so far, this has the lowest score on IMDb, so I knew right then and there, like, I had to check this out. I had to see what the big deal was. I went into this completely blind. I knew nothing about it. I had no idea why it was hated. All I knew was that it was hated. I was ready to see what kind of offensive garbage this show had in store for me. I was ready to see why this was such a widely hated show. What I was not prepared for was how f***ing boring this show is. This might be the most boring cartoon ever made. This is completely ignoring the whole, like, is this a cartoon or is this an anime debate? It's the most boring of either one, regardless. Of the 12 episodes that were made of the show, I only sat through the first 2 episodes. And then I decided, you know what, I think I've watched enough of the show to start work on this video. It is genuinely such a boring show to sit through. I am sorry. I don't think this show is hated because it's boring. I have no idea, truth be told. But my god, nothing could prepare me for how boring it was. Seriously. At first, I didn't hate this show that much. Like, when I was watching the first few minutes of it, I didn't see what was wrong with it. I didn't understand why it was so hated. I didn't think it was good, but I thought it was, like, at most a 4 out of 10 and not 1.5 out of 10 bad. I just thought that, like, okay, this is just a really mediocre show. It's extremely boring. It's not worthy of, like, the hate that it gets. And then I kept watching, and it is genuinely boring to sit through. I initially thought that this was not going to be searched for the worst cartoon worthy because of how boring it was, and then ironically enough, it became search for the worst cartoon worthy because of how boring it was. This show is not funny bad, nor is it offensively bad. It's just boring bad, which is honestly the worst kind of bad, because at least when something is funny bad or offensively bad, it's something that, like, you can talk about them, you know? The Adventures of Kid Danger was funny bad. The Slim Shady Show was offensively bad. But both shows, there was stuff in them that I was able to talk about. I was able to talk about things. There was material in both shows that I could work with, and they would make for great videos. This has nothing. This might be the most forgettable cartoon I've looked at on this series thus far. I've seen people complain about, like, the animation and the storyline and whatever, and I didn't really see, like, what was so bad. The animation looks fine. I see people frequently bring up, like, it looks bad and whatever, but I think, like, it looks fine. This is probably one of the better cartoons that I've looked at visually, but it's obviously not enough to save the show, of course. And the storyline is just, I really don't care, honestly. It is hard for me to pay attention to it because of how boring this show is. Probably the only other real criticism that I can give this show is that the voice acting is really cringe. I can't play any clips because I don't want to, like, risk copyright, but, like, the voice acting and the dialogue is just, like, ugh, you know? This is most definitely not a Japanese-made show. This is definitely made in, like, America. I mean, it's a Crunchyroll original, so yeah, I'm pretty sure this is an American show and it's not, like, Japanese or anything like that, but I mean, like, still, because I know, like, anime, it's, like, you know, sometimes, like, English dubs can be quite bad, but I mean, like, here it's just, like, oh, the dialogue, it's just the cringiest thing you will ever hear in your life, seriously. There's apparently a lot of LGBT representation in this show. I believe the creator of this show is transgender, and in one episode it's revealed that there's a character who was, like, a transgender, like, female to male, and I mean, like, sure, cool, I guess. I really hope that this show isn't, like, widely despised because of the LGBT representation, because then that's like a... Yeah, I don't know about that one, Chief. I'm really not sure. Because if you have a stronger tolerance for boredom than me, then, like, this is definitely not 1.5 out of 10 levels of bad. But yeah, I worry now that a large amount of the hate for this show comes from it being just, like, homophobic stuff, transphobia and whatnot. That's not how I roll, okay? I don't roll like that. I'm just gonna say as well that the LGBT stuff in this show does nothing for me. It doesn't make the show better, nor does it make it worse. I'm not gonna be like, oh, you know what, maybe I'm too harsh on this show, maybe I should give it another chance just because of the LGBT representation. But at the same time, I'm not gonna be like, oh, you know what, this show is even worse than I thought because of the LGBT representation. It does literally nothing for me, okay? I'm just gonna say that right there, alright? I'm just gonna say that. I don't know how anyone could possibly consider this show woke when watching it makes me want to fall asleep because of how f***ing boring it is, seriously. Anyways, I'm gonna go and try to describe the plot of this show as best as I can. Truth be told, I really couldn't care less about the storyline for this show. I think out of every cartoon I've looked at so far, this is the most, like, I don't care at all, like, when it comes to the storyline. Like, I genuinely couldn't care less about it. So the show's about these two girls who go to, like, some school to become guardians or whatever. One of them wants to be a warrior, the other one wants to, like, you know, do stuff with magic and potions and whatnot. I don't f***ing care. Apparently Pinky over here, like, lost her mom as a kid, and, like, she has this sword, and this sword is, like, the only, like, remnant she has of her mom, and I really don't know, honestly. I genuinely cannot stress enough how boring this show is. It's just nothing interesting happens in this show. Everything is just, like, whatever, you know? The animation's fine, the storyline's fine, the characters are fine, everything's just whatever. There's nothing interesting. This is not like an interesting bad show. You know how earlier in the video I brought up that I watched 2 episodes and I thought that was enough? Well, I went ahead and I watched 2 more episodes. I figured I might as well watch at least 1/3 of the show to see if, like, anything could get better in terms of, like, if this could become, like, an interesting bad cartoon or if it could become legitimately good. Neither one happened, of course. Same old boring shit. There is nothing in this show that feels unique. I feel like there's a million shows out there that are exactly the same as this. There is nothing original or unique about this show, and I think that contributes to this being really hard for me to review. I think about this show more and more, and I actually kind of fucking hate it, because in addition to just being boring and unoriginal, it also has this kind of obnoxious feel to it. Pinky over here, I can't even be bothered to remember her name, is just annoying as hell. She's basically the stereotypical hyperactive girl. Oh my gosh, I'm so quirky, I'm not like other girls. And I don't want to, like, disrespect her voice actors or anything like that, but, like, the voice is, oh my god, her voice is f***ing annoying. You have no idea. I just really hate this show. I didn't think it was that bad at first, and I think about it more, like, yeah, this is actually shit for real. This show just has, like, an aura to it that I just cannot stand. I don't know if it's because, like, I don't care for anime, but, like, I'm pretty sure, like, even if I loved anime, even if I was, like, the biggest anime fan in the world, I would probably still hate this. I mean, there's people out there that, like, they love anime and, like, they hate this. Like, people would say, like, this is not a real anime or whatever. So if people that love anime hate this show, then, like, imagine what it would be like if someone who wasn't into anime watched this. It's like, that makes it even worse, for real. It's an even worse experience for them. If I were to be honest with y'all, I think this might be the worst cartoon I've ever seen. Not the worst cartoon ever made, but the worst cartoon I've ever seen. Like, I'd rather watch f***ing Slim Shady's show over this. I don't even care what people say, alright? At least Slim Shady show, at least I can remember what happens in it, and at least I feel something when I watch the Slim Shady show. I feel an emotion watching it, even if it is a negative emotion. I feel nothing when I watch High Guardian Spies. I feel literally nothing. I'd rather be offended by how bad Slim Shady show is than sit through the boring nothingness of High Guardian Spies. I don't even care. In order to make this less confusing, I'm gonna just say this. The Slim Shady show is the worst cartoon ever made. High Guardian Spice is the worst cartoon I've ever seen. There is a difference between the two. There is a difference between saying this is the worst thing ever made versus saying this is the worst thing I've ever seen. There is a huge difference. I'm sorry, but a boring cartoon is the worst kind of bad cartoon. And you could say a lot of things about the Slim Shady show or the Red Ape Family or the Prince, but they're definitely not boring, that's for sure. I'm sure that there are good intentions behind this show, and I'm sure that, like, it could have worked, but it's just the execution is poor. If I was more into anime, I'd probably say something about, like, how, oh, this could have been a good cartoon, you know, this had the potential to be a good show, but I just really don't care. I just want to get this out of the way. I'm sorry. I want to look at something that's, like, funny bad or offensively bad. I cannot stand to look at this garbage anymore. I never want to see this show ever again. F***ing hell. Objectively speaking, The Prince, the Red Ape Family, and the Slim Shady show are all worse than this, but at the same time, they're better than this because at least there's stuff in them that I could say about them. At least I feel something when I watch them, even if, again, it's a negative emotion that I feel when I watch them. I would rather watch these 3 shows over High Guardian Spice. High Guardian Spice is the most boring thing I've ever seen in my life. Maybe it's not fair for me to put this at the very bottom of the ranking list, but I don't care. More than any other cartoon that I've looked at on this series, I feel like I wasted my time watching this. Like, not even with Slim Shady Show or whatever, that I feel like my time was being wasted watching it. Because at least I knew that watching it would translate to a great video. At least I knew that the stuff that was in it would make for a great video. I can't even feel that for High Guardian Spice, you know? More than any other cartoon that I've looked at on this series, more than The Prince, more than Velma, more than anything like that, I sincerely feel like my time was wasted watching this show. The time that I spent watching this show, I'll never get it back again, no matter what, and I hate it more just for that. I originally had this above the aforementioned 3 shows, and I think about it more, it's like, nah, the other 3 shows are worse than this, but I hate this more, if that makes sense. Oh yeah, I also wish to say, out of every cartoon that I've looked at in this series, this has the worst theme song. My god, the theme song is just like, oh god, the less said about it, the better. The credits theme is terrible as well. Bro, I wish I could play it, but I can't because of copyright, but like, the end credits theme has like some of the worst auto-tune I've ever heard in my life. Like, it's actually insane how bad it is. You have to hear it to believe it, seriously. Yeah, I hate High Guardian Spice. It's trash for real. Is High Guardian Spice an anime or a cartoon? It doesn't matter, Uncle Ben. It's shit either way. You know? Anyways, that's about it. If you enjoyed this video, then be sure to like, and if you're new to the channel, maybe consider subscribing, as it would be greatly appreciated. Thank you everyone for watching this video, and I will see you all next time. Adios.